Welcome to JoBlo Horror Originals Best Foreign Horror, where we take a look at significant horror titles from all over the world. Today we're heading back to the land of the rising sun to look at a film that was just as influential and far-reaching as what I would consider its companion film in Ringu. We touched on it in our Ringu video, but horror movies in Japan really started post-World War II. After that, we had the first truly big horror hit. Well, sort of. Gojira isn't what you would traditionally see as a horror movie, but after the Atomic Age descended onto humanity, particularly horrifying for Japan, Atomic Age horror was beginning, and it was going to last nearly an entire decade. The original is a deadly serious film that is far from what the series would be after it was Americanized for many years. While the giant monster movie would continue on after, notably with Host from Bong Joon-ho and Cloverfield from J.J. Abrams, insert lens flare here, the type of horror film out of Japan that would have the longest lasting impact and have the biggest pool of films would be the ghost story. While standout 60s films Kuroneko, which adapts a folktale called The Black Cat, Jigoku, which is also called The Sinners of Hell, and Onibaba, which I discussed at length in the Ringu video, are all must-watch 60s horror films, they aren't tied to the subgenre of ghosts in any real way. The big ones from Japanese horror history that laid the groundwork for ghost stories are Kwaidan and House. Kwaidan flourishes as a fine example of supernatural horror movie based on folktales, and in actuality it's 4. Kwaidan is also one of the most famous and best examples of the anthology film. House is another story altogether. While it's certainly a haunted house movie, it's also a comedy and an experimental film. It centers on the daughter of a widower who is now remarried, and she's upset by this. She invites her friends over, who all have out there names. Did I mention her name is Gorgeous? They each have their own quirks too, like being good at kung fu, a musician, a daydreamer, etc. The movie goes off the rails frequently, and while not a ghost story per se, it certainly pushes the narrative of being a haunted house tale, which definitely ties into today's film. Almost everything I mentioned so far is available on DVD or Blu-ray from Criterion if you want the best versions with awesome bonus features.
I'd like to thank you guys for watching Best Foreign Horror, and ask that if you enjoy our shows, please subscribe to our channel right now. Like this video and click on the bell so you can be notified each time a new video goes up. And now, back to the show.
Ju-on the Grudge is fairly well known, but did you know it was the third movie in a series? That's right, the third. It was preceded by 2 short films called 10 Fours and Katsumi, as well as 2 straight-to-video films titled Ju-on the Curse and Ju-on the Curse 2. The Curse is only 70 minutes and was kind of a trial run for what creator Takashi Shimizu wanted to get done. More on him in a little bit. It sets up the story's overarching tale of madness and ghosts, with showing the murder of the wife, child, and cat of the man who owned the home, followed by a bunch of characters that get connected to the house and lose their lives. It has some cool nods to later films, with the director reusing a scene about a person with a missing jaw in the American remake. The Curse 2 is a little bit disappointing. It's split into 6 different stories like its predecessor, but while it's slightly longer at 76 minutes, 30 of those are just clips taken directly from part 1. It does dive a little deeper into the tales from the first one, but doesn't do much for the overall story and feels stale. The short Katsumi revolves around the later used plot point of the schoolgirls taking care of the school's pets and finding the lower jaw of a human, and 10 Fours deals with someone finding a ringing cell phone only to answer it and get killed by a boy who we would later discover to be Toshio. For the record, the number 4 is bad luck in Japanese culture. Ju-on the Grudge is an amalgamation of the first 2 short films and the 2 straight-to-video films with a theatrical release budget. Okay, so maybe that's an oversimplification, as it's still a sequel as well. It shows a stilted flashback of the original murders, but then moves the story forward. The house is clearly set up as a dark and cursed place, and we see various people have to deal with it. A social worker is sent to the house to look after an older woman. Rika, the social worker, is shocked to see the house as a mess and not suitable for people to live in. The old woman is disoriented and seems scared, but that could just be because of her age and home life. Rika finds a young boy named Toshio, who we see with his cat in the murder flashback, and then the ghost of Keiko, who is the woman murdered in the flashback, kills the old woman before Rika faints. The film is told out of order in places, but that isn't detrimental at all. You have a basic outline and understanding in the movie, which boils down to everyone who comes in contact with the house and the death curse left by its owner are taken over by it. You have cops investigating it, siblings of people already taken by the house looking into the disappearances, and another former cop who is in charge of the original investigation, attempting to end the curse once and for all. The 6 segments are easy to follow, and it's fun to look for hints of the other ones within each story. The next segment involves a new family, the ones related to the old woman, who slowly succumb to the ghost curse. First the wife, then the husband, and eventually, as we saw with the opening segment, the mother. After that, we see the sister who entered the house, for all of 5 minutes mind you, get stalked and killed. Finally, we get the former detective who perished while he tries to burn the house down, but not before seeing his future daughter in danger, and then the same daughter meeting her end as well. The film ends with Rika from the first segment trying to save her teacher friend who goes to the house to find out what happened to a student that hasn't shown up for class yet. Rika gets to the house too late, and it's here where I really respect the movie. There is no happy ending. Rika doesn't put the souls to rest and fix the curse. She's killed and ends up in the attic the same way that the original wife was, only to wake up as the new vessel of the curse. We even get to see missing persons posters strewn about the city as more and more people are affected by the curse. Well, I already discussed the bleak ending, but it deserves another shout out as it certainly isn't what audiences were expecting, and most movies, even in 2003, kind of needed to have that happy ending. Yeah, sure, there was always room for sequel bait with jump scares or a wink from the villain, but not killing off all the protagonists. The first scene that really stands out for me is really an entire sequence. Hitomi, the sister of the first male victim, is stalked and killed outside of the confines of the house. Everyone before and after ends up dying in the house, but Hitomi shows us that the curse isn't limited to just inside, only people that have entered it. While at work, Hitomi gets a call while in a bathroom stall, and then is attacked from the stall next door by our death-growling angry ghost, Kayako. She runs to security, who goes to check things out, and to Hitomi and our own horror, he is dispatched by the ghost and Hitomi flees home. She receives a call from her brother and confirms it's him through the eyeglass in the door, but when she opens it, there is no one there. She rushes to bed where she has a different special visitor. The other standout scene for me is much more subtle. There's an old man being taken care of at a care center, and one of our main characters is there helping him. The entire time he seems to be out of sorts, with smiling and talking, and even playing with things that simply aren't there. Then, near the end of the scene, you see it. You may even miss it the first time. A reflection from our point of view when a door opens reveals the ghost of Toshio playing with the old man while also stalking his prey. You cannot escape the curse of the house, only delay it. Shout out to other scenes where Toshio shows up as well. My other favorite of his is when Hitomi is going up the elevator and you see him on multiple floors somehow through the windows. Megumi Okina, who plays the closest thing we have to a main character in Rika, has quite a few credits to her name, though almost all of them are from her native Japan. She did show up in 2008's Shudder, and no, that's not the good one unfortunately. Misaki Ito, who plays Hitomi, would almost exclusively act in Japanese productions, with the exception of an appearance in the non-canon Pierce Brosnan Bond experience, Everything or Nothing, that released on home consoles in 2003. It may be non-canon, but it's probably still better than a couple of his films if we're being honest. Takako Fuji, who would give us the film's most unsettling performance as Kayako, is an accomplished voiceover actress, while also making quite the career out of this series of films. She appeared as the same character in the previous film and would reprise it for the sequel, the remake, and the sequel to the remake. Finally, writer, director, and creator Takashi Shimizu would become a fairly prolific horror director. In addition to all the previous Grudge titles, he would be hired to direct the remake and its sequel, as well as his own sequel in Japan the next year. He would even get to take his franchise into the world of video games with the 2007 Wii title, The Grudge: Haunted House Simulator. Is it good? No. Will we cover it? Probably. He has made some international and other United States terrors and is still working today with a movie that got released in 2022. In addition to being right there at the start of the J-horror craze that took over American audiences, Ju-on would get the remake treatment starring Sarah Michelle Gellar while being produced by Sam Raimi and Bob Tappert. It follows much of what the short films and first 3 Japanese movies tried to convey, but it just falls flat. That got 2 additional sequels, the most immediate one being directed by the original director just as the remake had. 2020 gave us another entry. And while I kind of liked this one, it's also somewhat flawed while following the same segment structure. The main cursed character would also appear in a crossover battle with Samara from The Ring and get 4 more Japanese films, a TV show, and the previously mentioned video game. Have you played the game? Which of the movies have you seen? What do you think of them? Let us know in the comments.
Thank you for watching our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our JoBlo Horror Videos channel. Tell your friends who like this sort of content and turn on that bell to receive notifications for all the latest videos. We're an independent company and we appreciate all of your support.